As you walk through this campus, one of the first things that you notice is all of the bronze busts. We have a tradition here that when we establish a new endowed chair, the donor selects somebody for a bust that represents the focus of the chair. And there's a special section of busts traditionally called Freedom Row and now Doi Hinley Promenade. You might have noticed it. It's to, well, my right, your left, but it's over there. Along this row, we have busts of some of the people who advance the freedom that provides the foundation for our prosperity today. There's Winston Churchill, Milton Friedman, George Shultz, Margaret Thatcher, and the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. And below each bust is a quote from the person depicted. This is the one from President Reagan. I know in my heart that man is good, that what is right will always eventually triumph, and there is purpose and worth to each and every life. This is not simply an expression of optimism. It is the intellectual foundation of a free society and the intellectual foundation of the Argyros School of Business and Economics. There is purpose and worth to each and every life. Each of you has been created with unique talents. Each of you has information no one else does and has had experiences that no one else has shared. And this positions you to make a contribution no one else can duplicate. There is purpose and worth to your life and the lives of those you serve. As emerging business leaders, you're in a special position. Yours is a noble calling. You can create value for customers, opportunity for productive employees, safeguard people's investments, and bring prosperity to communities. You are in a position to use your unique talents to help other people achieve. But I want to alert you to a conspiracy that you may not be aware of, but soon will. There are people who don't want you to be free. There are people who will conspire to prevent you from making that unique contribution. Some for benign and some for not so benign reasons. Perhaps they're invested in the status quo and you may disrupt that. Or maybe they want you to serve their goals rather than to nurture your own. They may not want you to obstruct their plans, or they may simply want to control you. Some may even want to cancel you for expressing ideas that they don't share, delete you from social media, ostracize you socially, harm you economically. Fully becoming the person you were created to be and realizing the impact you are positioned to make involves risk. With courage and conviction, you can do more than you ever dreamed possible. Do not be afraid. On October 22nd, 1978, Karol Wojtyła walked out onto St. Peter's Square in Rome, greeting over 200,000 people to celebrate his first Mass as Pope John Paul II. And in his sermon, he repeated the phrase, "Do not be afraid." This became the theme of his papacy, and the world has never been the same. Those 4 words lit the fuse that 11 years later would bring the collapse of the Soviet Union and perhaps the biggest expansion of freedom and prosperity in human history. And these words came from a man who understood fear. His mother died when he was 8, his only brother when he was 12. At 19, the Nazis invaded Poland and he was conscripted to work in a limestone mine. He joined the resistance, studied in an underground seminary. And then when he was 20, his father died, leaving him with no family. Following the defeat of the Nazis, the Soviet Union occupied Poland and created a communist police state. 8 months after that first Mass as John Paul II, in June of 1979, the Pope traveled to Poland for what has been described as the 9 days that changed the world. More than a third of the population saw him in person, millions more on TV, as he promoted the cause of religious and personal freedom and independence for Poland. This trip bolstered the opposition to the Communist Party, led to the founding of the Solidarity movement, and eventually to the collapse of the communist government in Poland, and later the rest of Eastern Europe, and eventually the Soviet Union. In June of 1989, Solidarity, participating in the first somewhat free elections in Poland, won all of the seats in which they competed. Hungary opened its border with Austria, and in November of 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, and the Velvet Revolution toppled the government in Czechoslovakia. And on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1991, the Soviet flag was lowered from the Kremlin. But the impact was felt well beyond Poland and the Soviet Union. Communist governments and other totalitarian regimes were toppled throughout Asia, Latin America, and Africa. Fear and social isolation are the keys to oppression, and Pope John Paul II's visits shattered them both. At the time Pope John Paul delivered that first sermon in 1978, 46% of the world lived in what the UN called extreme poverty. Only 9% do today. These events are commemorated in our own Liberty Plaza, where a piece of the Berlin Wall is displayed. It's placed in line with Freedom Row, where we hope one day to add the bust of Pope John Paul II. But there's still work to be done. Too many are disheartened and lonely. Too many people live in poverty and lack opportunity. There will be several graduations on this field today, tomorrow, and Sunday. And no doubt those graduates will do wonderful things. They might create inspiring art, advance scientific knowledge, safeguard people's health, strengthen the rule of law. But no one is depending on them to extend opportunity and expand prosperity. They're depending on you. Do not be afraid to do it. The formula is clear. wherever freedom is combined for respect for the dignity of every individual, prosperity and human flourishing follow, and what is right eventually triumphs. You have the knowledge, the training, the talent, and now the degree to advance this cause. You will also need the courage to risk failure, the courage to encounter criticism or face opposition, the courage to exercise your freedom. You are unlikely to make your unique contribution working in your apartment remotely 3 days a week behind a computer. Engage the world, collaborate with colleagues, form professional networks, encounter customers face to face. Do not be afraid. As the former Sudanese slave and now Saint Josephine Bakita said most succinctly, you are free. You can do so many things, and only you can do them. Do not be afraid to do them. The French economist Frédéric Bastiat in 1850 wrote his treatise, The Law, on the role of government and the value of economic freedom. He concludes with this quote, "And now that the legislators and do-gooders have so futilely inflicted so many systems upon society, may they finally end where they should have begun. May they reject all systems and try liberty. For liberty is an acknowledgement of faith in God and his works." I have faith in you. I have faith in your goodness. I have faith in your creative potential. I have faith in your courage and perseverance. And because of that, I have faith that right will eventually triumph, and you'll leave behind a freer, more prosperous, and more gracious world. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the George L. Argyros School of Business and Economics, it's my honor to congratulate you, the class of 2021, and it has been our honor to serve you. Thank you.